something that is a very trivial issue or a small issue concerning a small geography of the country, which is the National Capital Region, in a humongous, huge, mammoth continent-sized country. Why have we chosen to delve so much and devote so much time and effort to one particular issue? That is of the way the Delhi government's transport department has decided to implement this scrappage policy, mandated in a manner by the National Green Tribunal, and at some point in time the Supreme Court putting its seal of approval over it. So why it is important is that this old car and the scrapping and the lifting of the vehicles is not so much of an issue that we are wanting to take up. The issue here is the treatment of the citizens, the treatment of the honest tax-paying citizens of the National Capital Region, or particularly the JNCTD, the National Capital Territory of Delhi. The fact of the matter is that these honest tax-paying citizens have spent lakhs and lakhs of rupees not only in these cars that they have invested, they have paid lakhs and lakhs of rupees on taxation on these vehicles. And today, when these vehicles are being lifted just out of their residences, out of their offices, out of the blue, coming absolutely as a bolt from the blue, they are not even being served with the proper notice. And on top of that, the citizens have been reduced to paupers, to beggars, begging to the teams of the transport department, aided, abetted, and protected by the transport department, who are behaving in completely goonish and thuggish manner with the citizens, as if the citizens have committed some sort of a grave crime. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the entire foundational constitutional propriety of a democratic republic, of a democracy, is based on the citizens' rights. And the citizens' rights are critical, absolutely untouchable hallmark of a democracy, a civil functional democracy. And it is because these citizens' rights are being trampled over without any recourse, without any prior information or notice, in a brute fashion by the transport department of the government of Delhi, despite, mind you, interestingly enough, despite a caution from their own minister, the department head. Remember, in a democracy, the departments of the government are headed by the elected representatives. In this case, Mr. Kailash Gehlot is the Minister of Transport of the government of National Capital Territory of Delhi. In the month of May, on his own accord, after he received multiple complaints from the citizen of Delhi, he wrote a letter. Pending an order passed by the minister himself, cautioning the babus, cautioning the officials of his own department, saying that the way the vehicles are being lifted without prior notice, it is absolutely illegal. In fact, Mr. Gehlot's letter went on to add further that the law mandates, the act mandates, the vehicles which are overaged and which have been deregistered, if they are found plying, if they are found running, if they are found being used on the streets, can only be impounded. And the parked vehicles cannot be impounded. There is no provision in the law for impounding parked vehicles. Nonetheless, hiding behind a so-called letter coming from the Commission for Air Quality Management, which Mirror Now Today diligently, relentlessly, dutifully tried to contact, and our reporter went right to their doorsteps, and she was blocked and barred from entering the commission. And I don't understand, if the Commission for Air Quality Management believes that parked vehicles, I mean, it's an irony of sorts, but if they still do believe that parked vehicles can add to pollution levels in the city of Delhi, then why don't they come out and issue a proper statement, or give an on-record statement to Mirror Now, to Times Network, that these are the very reasons for which we have mandated the Transport Department of Delhi, which is actually hiding behind a mandate from the CAQM, to impound without prior notice. Ladies and gentlemen, the entire bone of contention here is without any prior notification, impounding vehicles from outside the people's houses and outside their residences, offices, workplaces, etc., etc. So in the entire context may be lifting or impounding or the seizing of these overaged vehicles, but the larger construct here, the larger overall matrix here is the fact that the citizens' rights, which are paramount to a democracy, as I started by saying, are the foundational core value of a constitutional functioning democracy, are being trampled over in a completely brute manner. And that is why we are investing, we at Mirror Now, investing so much of energy, so much of time, so much of hard work, so much of patience in this campaign. And I want each one of you, whether or not you are a car owner, whether or not your vehicle has passed its age, and whether or not your vehicle has been impounded, each one of you to participate in this campaign, come forward, talk about the fact that this is not the way a self-respecting democracy aspiring to be a global superpower treats its honest, diligent, tax-paying citizens on the streets of national capital. Remember, this is not happening anywhere outside Delhi. This is happening in the national capital, right on the streets of Delhi, minutes away from the Prime Minister's residences, residence of the top dignitaries, and the seat of power at the Raisina Hill. This kind of brute lawlessness being implemented by one rogue government department. I call them rogue with due consideration. Just to show you what is actually happening on the streets of Delhi, we will now put out a video that was recorded by a citizen like you and me, who was at the receiving end. And remember, a middle-aged lady is arguing with the goons of transport department, who are being abated under a so-called law about which nobody wants to answer in this city. For the first time in my life, in my decades-long career in journalism, I am seeing the implementation of a policy, of a government policy, in such a brute manner and in such an opaque manner, where there is no official to answer these questions that the citizens are raising. And that is the video that we are now playing out. See for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, how the honest tax-paying citizens of the national capital of this country are at the receiving end at the hands of some goons backed by a government.
आप मुझे तो सब मत बोलिए, एक से बात कीजिए, कोई एक बंदा बात कीजिए, फिर हम
आप पीछे हो जाइए, पीछे आ जाइए जी, कोई बात नहीं।
ठीक है,
क्या बता दूं?
हमने आपसे ये कहा, हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन का टाइम, ये 1 दिन का टाइम दे दीजिए।
अब सुनिए मेरी बात, ये ड्राइव चल रही है, इसके अंदर टाइम नहीं देते किसी को।
नहीं तो ये तो कोई कानून ही नहीं हुआ ना। अब उठा के हमें उठा के ले जाए कि हमने तो पेपर में छपवा दिया था और आप ले जाएंगे उठा के।
ऐसा नहीं होता, आप ही की गाड़ी नहीं उठाई, पूरी दिल्ली में गाड़ी।
नहीं देखिए, गलत चाहे सिर्फ मेरे साथ हो रहा हो या गलत सबके साथ हो रहा हो, गलत तो गलत है। मैं तो ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि किसी को आपको अच्छा शांत हो जाओ जरा 2 मिनट।
पहले हटा देती वो अच्छा रहता।
नहीं बिल्कुल, आप 2 दिन नोटिस तो दे सकते थे ना सर। आप खुद एक इंसान की तरह सोचिए, आपकी कोई चीज इस तरह से उठा के ले जाएगा गाड़ी? नहीं जा तो रही है। नहीं अरे तो आप बता तो सकते हैं ना, आप बता तो सकते हैं ना। आप मुझे
तो सब मत बोलिए, एक से बात कीजिए,
कोई एक बंदा बात कीजिए, फिर हम
आप पीछे हो जाइए, पीछे आ जाइए जी, कोई बात नहीं।
ठीक है,
क्या बता दूं?
हमने आपसे ये कहा, हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन का टाइम, ये 1 दिन का टाइम दे दीजिए।
अब सुनिए मेरी बात, ये ड्राइव चल रही है, इसके अंदर टाइम नहीं देते किसी को।
नहीं तो ये तो कोई कानून ही नहीं हुआ ना। अब उठा के हमें उठा के ले जाए कि हमने तो पेपर में छपवा दिया था और आप ले जाएंगे उठा के।
ऐसा नहीं होता, आप ही की गाड़ी नहीं उठाई, पूरी दिल्ली में गाड़ी।
नहीं देखिए, गलत चाहे सिर्फ मेरे साथ हो रहा हो या गलत सबके साथ हो रहा हो, गलत तो गलत है। मैं तो ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि किसी को आपको अच्छा शांत हो जाओ जरा 2 मिनट।
पहले हटा देती वो अच्छा रहता।
नहीं बिल्कुल, आप 2 दिन नोटिस तो दे सकते थे ना सर। आप खुद एक इंसान की तरह सोचिए, आपकी कोई चीज इस तरह से उठा के ले जाएगा गाड़ी? नहीं जा तो रही है। नहीं अरे तो आप बता तो सकते हैं ना, आप बता तो सकते हैं ना। आप मुझे
तो सब मत बोलिए, एक से बात कीजिए,
कोई एक बंदा बात कीजिए, फिर हम
आप पीछे हो जाइए, पीछे आ जाइए जी, कोई बात नहीं।
ठीक है,
क्या बता दूं?
हमने आपसे ये कहा, हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन का टाइम, ये 1 दिन का टाइम दे दीजिए।
अब सुनिए मेरी बात, ये ड्राइव चल रही है, इसके अंदर टाइम नहीं देते किसी को।
नहीं तो ये तो कोई कानून ही नहीं हुआ ना। अब उठा के हमें उठा के ले जाए कि हमने तो पेपर में छपवा दिया था और
So ladies and gentlemen, you saw for yourself how people who are completely not in the wrong, people who have not violated any law, people who think that there is absolutely equanimity in their existence with the city government, are being penalized for no fault of theirs. Now some people can say that these are the vehicles which have been deregistered, but deregistration does not mean that these vehicles will be lifted or impounded in a manner which is almost mafia style. Many people are dubbing it, many commentators, many people who are writing to us, who are speaking to us, and I wish to inform each one of you that since the time yesterday, it's less than 24 hours since the time we opened this campaign, and our telephone lines at Mirror Now desk have not stopped buzzing. I mean, incessant flow of calls has been there, and you can imagine the peeve, the angst, the grouse, the hurt, the feeling of being insulted, humiliated by the hands of their own government is so strong that under 24 hours, hundreds of citizens have contacted us by various means, and I'm quite sure, keeping in mind the fact that we are a television station and we do not have unlimited capacity to take reactions from people, thousands more at least, if not in lakhs, thousands more are have the same feeling of hurt and intimidation on top of it. Intimidation, being threatened outside their homes, outside their workplaces, outside their shops, outside their colonies, outside their societies, outside their blocks that they live in, by the goons of Transport Department, aided and abetted by the Transport Department of Delhi. Now, as I go back to my original contention as I was making, let me tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that tomorrow, if you are accused even of a murder, and if you are not caught red-handed with a smoking gun in your hand by the cops or by the people or by the public, you will be required. There is a provision in the law called 160 CRPC notice, which is Criminal Procedure Code notice. You will be required to submit yourself to an investigation process. That investigation process is duly mandated. The investigating officer gives you a chance to appear in front of him, and then in front of a magistrate, your guilt is adjudicated. But in this case, surprisingly, the Transport Department of Government of Delhi had dawned upon itself the role of the judge, jury, and the adjudicator. They will come outside your house, use brute force, pick up your vehicle, send your vehicle to God knows where, and you will be completely in the dark. All you will get will be a notice pasted outside the wall or the location where the vehicle has been captured from, seized from, and you will have to contact the scrapper according to them. Many people are saying that they have absolutely no way of contacting them. Nobody has got any compensation. People are finding it difficult even to recover the residuary value of their cars, which legitimately belongs to them and not to the government and not to the Transport Department of Delhi. On top of it, ladies and gentlemen, India is not the only country that has implemented this scrappage policy. Nowhere in the world from Canada to our neighborhood of China has this kind of brute force been used to implement a government policy. Each country that I have listed has used incentivization. Incentivization is the name of the game. People have been incentivized to scrap their old cars. They have been given additional amounts of money. They have been given allowances to buy new cars. They have been given fairly higher share of their older cars so as a replacement allowance if they are having any impact on the environment, as is being claimed by certain sections. Now in India probably is the only country in the world, in the heart of the national capital, where brute force is being used to snatch away what rightfully belongs to citizens. Remember, this is a country which till about 1978, some 35-40 years back, had right to property as a fundamental right, and right to own a vehicle is a part of the right to property. Just a few years back, the Supreme Court of India said that right to private property is a human right. If you are violating that, it is being violated. Human right is being violated. Now, I have a question to ask, and that question is from the Department of Transport, Government of Delhi. The citizens are all in the wrong. The minister is all in the wrong. And who is in the right are a few babus of the department, which believe, who have dawned upon themselves to implement this Tughlaqi Farman, that they don't have to give any concession, any notice. Forget about concession. They don't have to follow any due process of the law by giving citizens any notice, but they will go forcefully pick the vehicles and do whatever they please with the policy as they so claim. Now, this is happening at a time, ladies and gentlemen, when Supreme Court is closed, National Green Tribunal is shut. My reporters had today gone to contact the National Green Tribunal as well, but unfortunately this is a vacation period for them, and Delhi High Court intervening repeatedly has barred and returned the vehicles to its original owners, taking it back from the transport department. Now, in such a scenario, I fail to understand as to what will the transport department lose if a proper noticing process is done. If you have the address that you are re-registering and sending and picking vehicles from, why can't you give people enough adequate notice? As the BJP's state president, former state president of BJP, Mr. Manoj Tiwari was saying, as a lot of other neutral observers have been saying, that nothing will be lost just if proper notices are given to the citizens, and they are told and informed that if they fail to follow the law according to those notices, their vehicles can be impounded. However, the department clearly believes that it is above the law. They don't have to follow any process in the sense of informing the viewers, and what they have in the form of the policy is fool and fail proof. Now, even the best of the policies sometimes may need a review. This policy in any case is contentious, and it is being questioned from multiple quarters. Irrespective of that, there seems to be no rethink. There seems to be no thought in the minds of the department that people actually need a reprieve from this kind of policy, that people's concerns must need to be addressed. And as I speak to you, many of you are commenting that this is an organized scam. A lot of people have called us actually speaking on those lines. In fact, in a quite an ironical situation, one gentleman said that, while their vehicle was claimed to have been scrapped in Delhi, it was actually found to be sold in Punjab, and that vehicle's service provider in Punjab, the service people who were servicing that vehicle, called his father to say that your vehicle is being serviced in Punjab. According to the Delhi government and government records, the vehicle was supposed to be scrapped. So many contours of this policy, as I said, are contentious. Many people are calling it an organized loot and scam. Many people are also saying that there's a scrapping mafia. These are not my words. These are the words of our viewers. These are the words of people who are writing to us. These are people who are the sufferers of this Tughlaki Farman, as called by Mr. Manoj Tiwari, of the Kejriwal government. I do not know, and I cannot say how much Mr. Kejriwal's government is involved, because Mr. Kailash Gehlot actually, in fact, castigated his own department, cautioned his own department, rebuked his own department, barred his own department. However, the department quite clearly refuses to listen to him, and the drive goes unabated. The true principal pincers of this policy implementation are Center of Air Quality Management, which we tried to contact today. No answers. Transport Department of Delhi quite clearly believes it's above the law and it can do whatever it pleases, and therefore it is also going ahead with the policy. As I said, I have never seen, people who have lived through emergency probably can say that emergencies, population control drives were implemented in a manner that people were forced to undergo certain birth control procedures or operations, etc. However, post that, I do not think a policy has been implemented in this country where citizens have had absolutely no recourse to justice, no way to raise or champion their cause or raise their voices, but only to be at the suffering end of a policy that is being implemented in completely ham-handed manner, without, as I said, any recourse to a second hearing or any kind of approach to the authorities that would be available to the citizens. We have been getting comments from people about, as I said, people have been saying that this is an organized scam. People are saying that some had to change their residences out of Delhi. Some are saying that, government vehicles are running on the road while the private vehicles are being actually forcefully impounded. I beg your pardon. So all of these things are being commented upon by the people. But again, as I say, I come back to the original. I come back to the original formulation that I've been maintaining and I've been making, and that is that in a functional, foundational, constitutional, proper democracy, citizens' rights reign supreme. And as I began by saying that unless citizens' rights are valued, the whole construct of implementing a policy or any government decision comes under a cloud. And in this case, precisely that is what is happening, that citizens' rights are being violated with impunity, as we showed you. and maybe my colleagues can show you again, all over again, what is actually happening on the streets of Delhi in the name of implementation of one policy, of one department of government of Delhi, of snatching away of people's private property, vehicles registered in people's name, which they claim to have deregistered. And the deregistration also does not, ladies and gentlemen, mean that the vehicles become government property and government will do as they please, because that window is always available to people as to do whatever they wish to do with their vehicles. However, as I said, that howsoever right-minded, howsoever rightly formulated, howsoever correctly thought about a policy can be, but if it is being discomforting to the citizens, if it is bringing uncalled for, completely on the citizens of the country, that policy can always be reviewed and relooked at. However, at this moment as we speak, Delhi Transport Department certainly doesn't seem to have any such thoughts in its head. Let's once all over again go through the video that was captured earlier by a citizen like you and me on the streets of Delhi, a poor citizen who's at the receiving end of thuggish behavior of the goons aided and abetted by the Transport Department of Delhi.
अच्छा शांत हो जाओ जरा 2 मिनट।
पहले हटा देती वो अच्छा रहता।
नहीं बिल्कुल, आप 2 दिन नोटिस तो दे सकते थे ना सर। आप खुद एक इंसान की तरह सोचिए, आपकी कोई चीज इस तरह से उठा के ले जाएगा गाड़ी?
ऐसे जा रही है।
नहीं जा तो रही है। नहीं अरे तो आप बता तो सकते हैं ना, आप बता तो सकते हैं ना। आप मुझे
तो सब मत बोलिए, एक से बात कीजिए,
कोई एक बंदा बात कीजिए, फिर हम
आप पीछे हो जाइए, पीछे जी कोई बात नहीं।
ठीक है,
क्या बता
हमने आपसे ये कहा, हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन का टाइम या 1 दिन का टाइम दे दीजिए।
अब से नहीं हाँ। ये ड्राइव चल रही है, इसके अंदर टाइम नहीं देते किसी को।
नहीं तो ये तो कोई कानून ही नहीं हुआ ना। आप उठा के हमें उठा के ले जाए कि हमने तो पेपर में छपवा दिया था और आप ले जाएंगे उठा के।
ऐसा नहीं होता, आप ही की गाड़ी नहीं उठाई, पूरी दिल्ली में गाड़ी।
नहीं देखिए, गलत चाहे सिर्फ मेरे साथ हो रहा हो या गलत सबके साथ हो रहा हो, गलत तो गलत है। मैं तो ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि किसी को आपको अच्छा शांत हो जाओ जरा 2 मिनट।
पहले हटा देती वो अच्छा रहता।
नहीं बिल्कुल, आप 2 दिन नोटिस तो दे सकते थे ना सर। आप खुद एक इंसान की तरह सोचिए, आपकी कोई चीज इस तरह से उठा के ले जाएगा गाड़ी?
ऐसे जा रही है।
नहीं जा तो रही है। नहीं अरे तो आप बता तो सकते हैं ना,
आप ले जा रहे हैं,
आप बता तो सकते हैं ना। आप मुझे
तो सब मत बोलिए, एक से बात कीजिए,
कोई एक बंदा बात कीजिए, फिर हम
आप पीछे हो जाइए, पीछे जी कोई बात नहीं।
ठीक है,
क्या बता
हमने आपसे ये कहा, हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन का टाइम या 1 दिन का टाइम दे दीजिए।
अब से नहीं हाँ। ये ड्राइव चल रही है, इसके अंदर टाइम नहीं देते किसी को।
नहीं तो ये तो कोई कानून ही नहीं हुआ ना। आप उठा के हमें उठा के ले जाए कि हमने तो पेपर में छपवा दिया था और आप ले जाएंगे उठा के।
ऐसा नहीं होता, आप ही की गाड़ी नहीं उठाई, पूरी दिल्ली में गाड़ी।
नहीं देखिए, गलत चाहे सिर्फ मेरे साथ हो रहा हो या गलत सबके साथ हो रहा हो, गलत तो गलत है। मैं तो ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि किसी को आपको अच्छा शांत हो जाओ जरा 2 मिनट।
पहले हटा देती वो अच्छा रहता।
नहीं
Reiterate that this is just not about old overaged vehicles. This is about the manner of implementation of a government policy. Governments are supposed to be extension of citizens. Governments in modern day polity are not supposed to govern like old time kings. Governments are supposed to be participative, responsive, responsible, and caretaking of the citizenry. That is the entire construct of a modern government. But if the government itself becomes the tormentor of the citizens, then that's a real challenge. And as I said, any democracy should resist that challenge. I request each one of you to participate in our campaign. I request each one of you to share your experiences, not about old cars being taken away with force, but about citizens' rights being trampled over without any regard to their democratic rights. That is the whole construct of the campaign. I request each one of you to call us. I request each one of you to share your videos, share your thoughts, share your WhatsApp numbers, phone line numbers are all being made available through multiple forums that Mirror Now is available on. And I again reiterate, ladies and gentlemen, this is a citizens' fight, and this channel which has always pitchforked the citizen and citizens' interest in the forefront of the public consciousness and public thought, will continue to fight this fight, even if that fight has to be fought alone. I am determined I am determined to take this voice right up to the top quarters of this country and ensure that not a single citizen of Delhi, not a single citizen of National Capital Region is harassed, is taken for granted, is humiliated, is reduced to a beggar outside their houses, outside the places of their living. I'm also determined, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure that these people who have been harassing, tormenting, troubling, pushing, nudging people of honest, civil, tax-paying citizens of Delhi are asked the right questions and put in the dock for what they have done to the citizenry of Delhi so far. Thank you very much, and I hope that you will continue to bless us with your participation at our multiple forums that we are trying to connect.